Hello my quilting friends, Leah Day here with a new quilting video on the Grace Unique. Today I'm stitching a design called Flowing Lines, and you can see this is my same baby quilt that I'm trying to finish up that's been in progress for 4 years. And I think that these big, huge designs, filling in the space really quickly is really helping me knock it out fast, and they also look really nice. So this design starts with just long curving lines, and you're going to echo that line a few times. So in this case I echoed twice, and so now I'm going to stitch a gap line. I'm going to travel stitch up and I'm going to branch out, and you can make this as irregular as you want. You can kind of wiggle it. You can also just do a really gentle arch shape like this. It's really up to you. This is a lot more organic looking. The more wiggles and wobbles you put in your gap line, the more flowing your flowing lines is going to be. I know that's kind of cheesy, but that's the case. The more wiggles, then the more wiggles you're going to have as you echo that line. So here I'll show you what I mean. The next step after a gap line, you leave some space, you're going to travel stitch up, and I'm stitching this on a 1/2 inch scale, so about a 1/2 inch between those lines of quilting, and now I'm echoing. And I'm just going to echo whatever it is that I stitched before. So if my line was really, really wiggly, then I'm going to be stitching another really wiggly design. Just 2 parallel lines right next to one another. And it's okay if you wobble and stitch up and it's not exactly perfect. It's no big deal. This quilt was made with a cotton batting, which means that after it's finished and washed, it's going to shrink slightly, and that's going to hide a lot of my mistakes. Little blips, like something like that, where I kind of stitched off away from my needle ever so slightly. So here I decided I would travel stitch over and echo one more time, just to really draw attention to that line. I really like that wobbly line. Now I'm going to stitch my gap line. So I'm travel stitching over a bit. Sometimes you'll start a gap line and you'll travel along the line you just stitched, and sometimes you'll travel stitch out to branch out to form that first gap. And that's okay. You just got to do what you got to do in order to fit the design in your space. I'm going to travel stitch down for a good bit before I branch out again. I just think that looks better. Really let these lines flow. Let it be flowing lines. Let them come together and allow yourself the freedom to form the shapes as they come into your mind. Really is very organic, very fluid. You can also fill these gaps. I've decided to leave mine open, which forms the design flowing lines. But you can also fill them. If you fill them with circles, just these open spaces right here, if you fill that with circles, then I call that pebbles in a stream. If you fill it with stippling, then I call that Goldilocks. You can fill it with lots of different designs, and the different designs that you fill it with creates different textures too. And that adds even more beauty to your quilt. It's really, really cool to play with. So that looks good. I think I'll travel stitch over and do a few more echoes of that line. So with echoing, the key is it's not really looking at your needle, it's looking at the distance between your needle and the line of stitching before. And sometimes my lines are perfectly spaced and sometimes they're not. This is something that I don't think it has to be perfect, and especially with the design like this that's rather organic, it absolutely doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to actually look better the more organic it looks and freeform. So I'm just going to continue stitching gap lines and forming these open spaces, and then stitching these echoing lines to make them stand out beautifully on the quilt. And here's what it looks like whenever you finish flowing lines. So that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed learning how to quilt a baby quilt with me. You can find more videos on this series on my blog, freemotionproject.com. If you'd like to learn more about the Grace Unique 14 Plus that I've been quilting on in this series, you can learn more in a link below this video. I love this machine. It's big, it's easy to use, it's very simple, and as you can see, it quilts large quilts very easily. So check it out, learn more, and of course, post your questions. I'm here to help you learn more about quilting. Until next time, let's go quilt.